Hello, this is Jeremy Helgevold. This is my video submission for the GPE104 Project 1 final project submission. I'm going to be going over the rubric and pointing out where I meet all the the project requirements. So the first one is sprite import and display. I downloaded a sprite from the referenced sprite repository online, put it into my art folder, and dragged it into the game world. As you can see, it's visible, and it's got its own game object in the world. Okay, next object is key down or get button down. This is handled in the sprite movement controller code that is on the spaceship game object, and I get the I do it multiple places. I use get key to get the shift keys, and I also use get key down for all of the movement buttons, which are WASD or the up, down, left, right arrows. And these are get key down to just get return true when they're pressed and not every frame that they're pressed. Get key or get button or get access. Okay, so yeah, I used get key here for left shift, right shift, so I know every frame that a shift key is being held. If a shift key is not being held, I also use the get axis here. I set my axes up in Unity to just kind of mimic the get down or the get key down functionality. I just set up horizontal and vertical axes with up, down, left, right, and arrows, and WASD controls to meet that requirement. The next one is direct movement by setting position. I'm assuming this means just setting the transform of the object to a location in the game world. I didn't do that via the controller movement. I just did it for the repositioning of the spaceship to the center of the world. This is the only spot I actually hard set the position of the spaceship. Everywhere else I use add vectors and vectors and speed to it. The next one is additive movement by adding movement vector to position. This is what I was just talking about. I do that here for any WASD or up, right, left, down. I do the transform position plus equals the direction, and since all of the cardinal directions are vectors that are already a length of 1 or have values of 1 depending on which one it is, I just directly add that value to the position, since the requirement was to move 1 unit if shift is being held down. So that's where I use the position. Next one is movement speed, public in the inspector, available for designers. So that's right here, spaceship controller. I have it set to 0.5. So right now when I play, it goes kinda slow, but you can up that, like if I get it to 1, it goes really fast. So that's editable. Next one is simultaneous key presses. So yes, when shift is held and a direction is pressed, the instruction said that it only uses 1 unit, moves 1 unit in Unity space. So when shift is held, I just explicitly check for key down so that it only moves 1 unit until it's released and then pressed again. So without shift, it just kind of moves where you point him, and then with shift, left, up, right, down, and you can hold it, and it won't move until you let go and do that. Next one, mono behavior enabled and disabled. Okay, yeah. So I actually since this isn't really related to sprite movement, I made another game object with a game controller object on it, and this is where I put all the application level stuff. So the P key the P key enables the ship, the sprite movement component on the ship game object. And I put in a logging just in case I forget to apply it in the editor, because all of these items are made public so that you can just drag and drop in the editor. So when it's moving around, I can hit P and it will not move anymore, and then I can hit P again and it will continue moving. Next one is game object set active. So I use game object set active when I believe it's Q. Yeah, Q is pressed, it will enable and disable. I know the assignment said that this will break it, but I decided to pull it off of the game object that's being disabled, so you can enable and disable the object at will. And the same thing here is to ensure that it doesn't just break if I forgot to apply it or assign it in the editor. So playing Q will disable it, and over here it's disabled, and then Q again enables it in the editor. So it's just a simple flip of the Boolean that describes if the game object's active or not. Same with the component above, enabled or disabled. Okay, application.quit. That is programmed here. If they hit the escape key, it quits. I can show that. By running the project.exe. And it just moves everywhere. And then if I hit Q, it enables disable, and escape closes it. So that's that part. Bug error free. I guess the way this is shown, according to the demo video that was provided, is just kind of running the application while the console is available, using all of the the functionality, enabling, disabling the component, enabling, disabling the game object, resetting position, holding shift, each direction works, faces that way, reset to origin, and no errors or warnings appear in the log. Okay. Comments is the next one. I have pretty thoroughly commented. I comment what all my variables are, what the next chunk of code is going to do. I guess this one's where all the comments are. Yeah, variables are commented, what each if block does, what each item in the if block does, and then what my non-shift movement does. I know this probably there's probably a much more clever way of combining these two cases where shift is held, or if not, I just wanted the code to be split up so it's easy to read and see that I hit every item on the assignment. So that's the comments. Project organization. This one's pretty simple. I have a folder for art, and this sprite specifically came with more than one color version of its spaceship, so all of the colors are in there. The scenes, I just have main. Scripts, I have the game controller and the sprite. And the actual game world just has the main camera, the game object, and the game controller. I didn't really find it necessary to group any of these since it's pretty simple, just 3 items. Game exceeds minimum requirements. So I did a couple things here. Clearly, like moving around, it kind of takes the combination of movement to go at angles instead of just hard angles or cardinal directions. I also put in a code, since it did come with different colors, I put in a little extra keybind T, which will just randomly pick a color when you press it. Oops. So you press it and it'll randomly pick a color, and it's entirely possible it'll randomly pick the one that you just had. I just decided not to write the extra code to check if it's already that color. Just I wanted to keep the code clean, kind of just consistent format of each of the keys. So yeah, I figured that covers the get component use, being able to access and modify different components of a object, and the movement the extra movement kind of showed understanding of the different vectors and rotation and how to use them at the same time, as well as the different control schemes of axes, but also get key down and stuff like that. So that is my submission. There's the exe that is requested is in the builds folder of it. I didn't see much guidance on where that should be put, so I just put it within the project itself instead of out in the root of the repo. Also, the repo, this project is GPE104 project 1. I didn't make a separate repo for it. Hopefully that's okay. I guess I can email and ask about that for the next project if you want a separate repo for each one. But that's my submission, and I will talk to you in the next submission. Thank you.